Travis at Barna Parts, doing a little overview on the new solid axle kit that we have for the pre-19 Viper and Sidewinder. This kit utilizes what we'll call a true solid axle, which is a grade 5 bolt. That's a 1/2 inch diameter, and that 1/2 inch diameter bolt matches the 1/2 inch slot that is machined into the rail. So it's as large as you can go for an axle without actually having to modify the rail itself. So the kit comes with like an inside spacer axle, I guess we'll call it, some outside standoffs, some inside spacers, some shim washers, an outside washer, and a lock nut. The nice thing about this kit is it is designed to accept wheels with a 6004 bearing and also a wider 6304 bearing. The stock tri-hub comes with the 6004 bearing, which is the smaller, skinnier bearing. And if you're going to utilize wheels with a 6004 bearing, you're going to have 2 shim washers on each side of the bearing. If you've got wheels that have 6205 bearings, which is a wider, larger bearing, you're simply just going to have to switch out those bearings for the 6304 bearing. And then once you have a 6304 bearing, you don't have to use any of the shim washers because it is a wider bearing. The 6205 bearing is a smaller ID on the inner race, so that's why you're going to have to switch out to the 6304 bearings if you want to utilize your existing wheels. The only modification you have to do on this is you're going to have to drill out the hole in the stock axle adjuster blocks here. That hole is designed to accept the M10 bolt, which is a smaller diameter, and obviously with our axle being a 1/2 inch diameter, those have to be drilled out in order for the axle to pass through. So when you're going to go to assemble the kit, to remove your stock tri-hub, you're going to want to loosen up one of these bolts so you can kind of spread the rail apart and you can pull the assembly out. And then you'll proceed to assemble, the inside assembly, accordingly. Again, using the shim washers if you have the skinny bearings, and then omitting the shim washers if you have the large bearings. And then on your outside wheels, if you're using a 6004 wheel, you just have to use one shim washer, and then your wheel would go on, and then the big outside washer. These two here are your outside washers. So assembling, once you have the inside assembly in place, you'll just slide the axle in place. As shown here, you got the bolt, outside washer, your wheel, and your outside standoff, and then you'll repeat, on the opposite side. And again, if you have the 6004 wheels, you'll put one shim washer on the outside standoff, and then you'll just you'll have a large washer and then a flanged lock nut to go hold everything together. So that's pretty much it. It's definitely a much more solid setup than the factory setup. Using that 1/2 inch solid bolt is more robust than the smaller M10 bolt, which is approximately 3/8 equivalent. So yeah, any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks.